And before we bring to you our only appearance in 2020 for the Dwarf Cars, they're going to put on a great show coming up for 30 laps. I want to remind you that this segment is brought to you by J2 Racing. J2 Racing Parts is your headquarters for everyday racing. Online at j2racing.parts or right across the street from the Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, j2racing.parts. Let's go to Tom Glithero, who's going to bring you part of the starting lineup for our Dwarf Cars.
30 laps for the Dwarf Cars. The Northwest Dwarf Cars on the pole will be the 77W of Wade Stringer. Outside of Wade in the 22 car will be Chuck O'Connor. The 08 of Greg Scott, who's done a little bit of every kind of racing here at Evergreen Speedway. Outside of him in the 5 car will be Steve Taylor. And in row 3, the 4 car of Brian Taylor. And outside in the 69K will be Tyler Howard.
In the 37W car will be Troy Kunis. In the 17W, Dale Knutson. And in the 15W, Steve Kunis. 30 laps coming up. And believe it or not, Tom, you're going to think I'm lying to you because you know me. I kind of did a little bit of prep work. Yeah. I know you're speechless, but I did. And there's a lot of history to these things. I think they started around 1977. And there were a couple of gentlemen who went to a flat track motorcycle race show, and one of the divisions had sidecars. And they thought, how cool would it be if we could put together a type of a vehicle that had 4 wheels on it, because obviously 4 wheels are better than 3, but with a motorcycle engine and an old-time body. And this is kind of what they evolved into. And they've been around a long time, and there's tracks that in clubs, it's kind of a club racing type deal.
I'm not sure, but I think those things actually started in Arizona at a dirt track down that way, and they're kind of on that same thing as a legend car, just a little different looking, a little different sets of rules, but kind of that scaled down car deal, nimble, quick, probably doesn't have enough tire for the horsepower. And I got to tell you, to put them on pavement and the dirt, that'd be a blast.
Yeah, they are a fun class. You can hear them getting wound up right now under our flagman, John Peterson, and we are underway. It is Wade Stringer in the 77W car with the start. Outside of him, Chuck O'Connor in a 22W. So cool to see Greg Scott. I tell you, you'd mentioned it when you introduced me. You just see him right there in the second spot as they come out on the 3/8 course, going by right now in that 08 car. Just one of the class guys, a long-time champion in our figure 8 divisions. Over the years out here has kind of gotten into Legends cars. Joe's currently running one of those. We've seen him several times here on Home Track Heroes in the Legend car. He's tried some super late model racing over the past couple of years, but has really found a fun time in these cars. And it's so good to see him out here because he's just a class act all the way.
You're right, and those cars have a lot of different kinds of bodies. Some of them look like a little bit of a pickup style, and then there's the coupe ones and everything else. But just a blast to drive. And Chuck O'Connor just flat out there going for a great drive on Saturday afternoon here at Evergreen Speedway.
He is moving right along as we are 3 laps in. 30 laps make up the distance for our dwarf cars. So good to have him here. Look at that run going into turn number 3 by Greg Scott in the 08. But boy, it is all Chuck O'Connor just checking out early as he goes into turn number 1 on our 3/8 course. We'll be using that. We've got a little bit of figure 8 action coming up for you later on. Thanks so much to Frank's Radio Service for bringing you our Outlaw Figure 8 division race. We'll have those guys for 20 laps coming up later on tonight, along with our mini Youth Hornets and our Hornet Nationals, brought to you by Interstate Batteries. 50 laps coming up.
Steve, a lot of these cars are out of Oregon, and that's kind of where they're based out of. And when they talked to Troy Kunis earlier in the day, he did talk about dirt and pavement. They run down at Cottage Grove and some of those types of places pretty regularly. And that Kunis family, they've been around a long time. And Troy's son, one of the Troy's sons, I assume, is Steve Kunis in this race. Kunis, and his other son has been involved in sprint car racing throughout the Pacific Northwest. And Andrew's just a great guy.
Boy, he is.
So you can see right there, 2 different styles of cars doing a great job right now. They head off down that long, as they said, a long backstretch for these cars.
It is. This is probably kind of like a mile and a half for a full-size car when you put this short of a wheelbase, this type of a horsepower to weight ratio. But you can see these guys sliding around. I mean, they are slippery in the back end. As our top two Taylor Howard and Chuck O'Connor and Greg Scott make up the three. Nice battle for that third spot. Greg Scott under all kinds of pressure as they come out of turn number 4 and across the start-finish line. And you can tell by the camera shot if you got some smoke coming out of that one. That'll bring out a caution, and we will get them racked back up. The 4W of Brian Taylor putting a little bit of fluid down on the track, so our incredible staff of track cleanup crew, we always thank them because they do a phenomenal job under some pretty tough conditions too. So thank you so much to those guys, all of our EMTs and our track staff, the people that go up and down the pits, Amy and her bunch, and it's just so cool to be a part of this. So we're going to get them back up. Well, you'll see our Evergreen Speedway pace car brought to us each and every week, virtually each and every year by our friends over at Speedway Chevrolet right here in Monroe. So thanks a lot to you guys for being a part of this as always. And we'll get our dwarf cars racked back up. You know, if to a casual fan, Tom, I'm kind of thinking that if you're sitting at home just kind of flipping through the channels and run across what we do here, and you come up this race, you're going to think, man, those things look like they are a ton of fun to drive, which they are, but boy, do they teach you how to race.
If you can't drive a car, I mean, you know, by that I mean I'm talking about traffic and everything else, making those moves from the top groove to the bottom, whatever, very nimble type cars, you're not going to have much success if you do that. You can see that little stripe right there. That's some dry sweep put down for that oil spill early in the day. The drivers will remember where that is because if they hit it, there's probably still a little residue right there.
That's right.
And all of a sudden that car might jump out from underneath them. But as they head down into 3-4, that seems to be the hard spot. I think it's because it's so wide and everything else. You want to gas it up so much as you come down into turn 1. Turn 1, as you heard some of the drivers talk about, the hardest turn at this racetrack because there's a lot of black. And you're heading on down past that start-finish line trying to pick up your marks. It flattens out, kind of goes up a little bit of a bank, and then you got to turn it left quick and get down the backstretch. You
know, and one thing that's kind of just came across my brain while you were saying that too, now we're at the point where I think we're on probably like the third year of the repave of the 3/8, and the guys at Granite Construction who bring you our Super Sprint Series here, we'll be seeing them coming up in a couple weeks. But and they did a phenomenal job on it. The banking is progressive; it's so much better. But it's starting to get wore in, and it's starting to become consistent. So these guys, when they have a setup that they're going to devise off this race, doesn't matter the class, but they can kind of refer back to it and have more consistent setups coming in.
Well, you're right, and drivers as a whole love new asphalt because there's a lot of grip and everything else. Very, very smooth. However, if you really start talking to drivers, after a while, they love it when it wears out a little bit. Gets a little bit of character to it, so they can use that second groove, that sort of thing. And so most of the time, race car drivers want repave, and then they get it, and
they
don't want it to go away.
You can't please them at all. Great shot there just a few seconds ago of the 37W of Troy Kunis, as Troy is just coming out of turn number 4, starting to put hopefully a little bit of pressure on us. We're halfway through our 30-lap main event for the dwarf cars. Thanks so much to all these guys for making the trip up. Like Tom mentioned, a lot of these guys coming up out of Oregon. We don't see a whole lot of these cars up here. We obviously had a phenomenal legend turnout on the last show that we did. And the 12 car class will improve as we'll see the West Coast Vintage Modifieds coming up here in at some point tonight as well. Those guys will be on the 3/8 as well. So we're kind of getting a lot of the same type of theme with what we're putting on the 3/8 with the older bodies, but a lot of fun to race in and a great group of people to race with.
That white car right there in the middle of your screen, the 37 car, that's Troy Kunis. If you do the math, he said he's approaching 60 years of age.
Right.
Been doing a long time. Got to have a big smile on his face. There's a lot of guys at 59 are buried on the couch, and here he is out there, running around a racetrack, turning in the low 19 seconds on this 3/8 mile paved oval at Evergreen Speedway.
Well, it's what keeps him young, and not a bad way to accomplish that. Here we go. We're at working lap number 19. We'll finish that one off right now as we see Tyler Howard making his way. Good run in that number 69K car. Troy Kunis still hanging in there strong right in the middle of your screen going down the backstretch. I kind of like the way that you can tell when they're under power because you can definitely see that nose come up on those things. And I think that it's because of the engines run horizontal down the middle of the car. and whereas the Legends, I believe, go across. They kind of lay in there sideways, and that kind of is a different torque angle. And I know I'm sounding like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I probably don't.
I'm going to let you
But
just drown right
yeah,
there.
let me just
I'll
bury
let you
myself.
Go right on down.
But it's cool to see how they work, and they soften. It looks like they may soften the suspensions up a little bit. You can just definitely see the nose come up on them when they come out of tube.
Steve, when you run that same car on dirt and pavement, you have to compromise some. Because in dirt cars, you try to get the weight up. Pavement cars, you try to get the weight down. You know, you want it to roll way over on the right rear, or left rear, excuse me, a lot of dirt, with wing, without wing on the right rear. On pavement, you're trying to get everything you can to the left side because it's trying to throw it all out the window. So, you know, different ideas. And so when you're running that same car on both pavement and dirt, you have to kind of compromise and, you know, get the best deal you can right now. But a good battle right there between the 37 of Troy Kunis and the 17W of Dale Knudsen for that. They're running right now fighting for that second spot.
Boy, he is under all kinds of pressure. The Troy Kunis car, as the 17 takes a look down on the bottom, side by side. Boy, that was kind of a cool move. As he did kind of a side draft on him.
Knudsen kind of did a dirt entry. Let's
Yeah,
go down there and throw it in and let the back end catch up. You know, and steer with the front end and let the back end come around. There was only one problem. Troy Kunis was sitting outside of him thinking, this is not good.
And what a massive lead by the 69K of Tyler Howard as he takes it down into turn number 3 as his closest competitors. You can just see them coming into turn 3 right there on that shot as we have got 4 laps to go to make up our 30-lap main event for the Dwarf cars, making their first and only appearance in 2020 here on the 3/8 banked oval. As you see that Kunis sliding it around, lots of, like Tom said, a lot of dirt track appearances in these type of cars, and rightfully so, because they can go run at your local dirt track without hardly changing a thing at all. Maybe a shock absorber to try and, like Tom was talking about, brilliantly, I might add, on weight transfers, and just got me totally confused. And that's the nature of our relationship.
That's okay. Right now,
it's all right.
Tyler Howard's just kind of, as we say once in a while, stinking up the show.
Yeah, no
doing
kidding.
a great job out front and just driving away. Nice car handling really, really well. And the rest of them, they're working hard out there.
Yeah, there's the 17 W of Dale Knudsen as he comes out of turn 3. Here we go, white flag out. One more to go for the 69K of Tyler Howard. There comes the 17 of Dale Knudsen across the line.
He's driving that off the right rear?
Boy, he really is. That thing is laying down all cocked as they come out of turn number 1. And we'll take it back up to turn 4, come out of 4, and give you a winner. Right there it is. The 69K of Tyler Howard. Behind Tyler will be Dale Knudsen, who was your picked up a heat race win earlier, fast qualifier. And we're going to go down to Kyler Hope for the interviews with the winners.
Troy Kunis, third place tonight. So you essentially own / help run the series. Tell me about all it takes to get these cars organized to run asphalt and dirt tracks.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, you know, being the traveling series, we race on 7-8 different tracks during the year, some dirt, some pavement, and trying to schedule multiple clubs and make up AMCA on top of it all is where the challenge is. We've got a great group of guys up in Canada. About half our series is up there, and unfortunately can't come down because of the border, and it's a shame. We'd had some great car counts otherwise.
So tell me about tonight. How were you able to get up to third place, and who is everyone you need to thank for getting your car to third tonight?
Well, tonight the big thing was just trying to get the car to the right gearing, and I finally got the gearing right in it, and I was right on the leader's, bumper until about 10 laps ago, and I got a cramp on my neck, and I'm like, couldn't get myself straightened upright and going blurry trying to see driving, but we got it. Car ran pretty good. Other than me, it was a good night.
Troy Kunis comes home third place tonight. Second place, Dale Knudsen tonight with the Dwarf cars, and a pretty tricky track compared to some of the other asphalt tracks you won. Tell me about your day.
Well, I've been out of it for 3 years, and this is my third race this year in this new car. And so getting used to the car, plus getting used to the track after it's been paved. Last time I ran here, it was on the old surface, and so it's kind of neat to be on the new nice smooth track today.
Yeah, nice smooth track for sure compared to especially some dirt tracks you guys also run. How were you able to get second place tonight? Who do you need to thank for getting second place?
Troy here is the one that set me up with this car in order to buy it. And so I'm going to thank Troy for doing that for me. And other than that, it's just me and my side money.
Second place tonight.
Thank you.
Down here in Angel of the Winds Victory Lane with Tyler Howard, and you're 3 for 3 with asphalt wins this year in the dwarf car. It's your first win in this car. How did it feel being here at Evergreen Speedway?
It was really fun. It was really fast right off the bat. Then the track tightened up. And it was really tricky trying to get across this banking, but it was really fun racing with everybody. I can't thank Eco Environmental enough. Without them, I wouldn't be here. And my friends and family for picking up all the slack with as much as I sacrificed to get this car on the track. A lot goes into it, and without them, I couldn't do it without them.
How were you able to get through a pretty tough field? I mean, there's not a ton of cars here, but it's good drivers in the field, and you're able to make your way through some of the best.
I just got lucky there. I forced 3 wide coming down the backstretch, and just a hole opened up, and luckily I beat Dale and Troy to the front, because I think it's a race to the front every time we race, and whoever gets out front is going to win.
Who else do you need to thank for the win tonight?
Just Eco Environmental, Corey Esteban, Troy Kunis, he's the president, and without him I wouldn't be racing these. He's helped me out a lot. So Troy Kunis, my family, and Eco Environmental.
Tyler Howard grabs the win.